Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Mars X3D, The Evidence. This is your buddy Dave, and the new GigaMacro site that Neville Thompson is using for his re-renders and other PDS work is great. It's crystal clear and easy to use. Now you can't take snapshots with it like you can with GigaPan, but you can mark and label things you find. This context view was done from the GigaMacro image Nev just put up, and it has plenty to see in it. The locator dots tell the story in this one. At the lower left, an oddly shaped piece that could have come from a building. At the top left of center, a filigreed box like the latticework found in Middle Eastern structures. And at the upper right, a square piece of metal pokes through the sand with a little surprise on it that we'll see in just a minute. Okay, in detail view number 2, we're looking at what could have once been a concrete or steel corner joist, badly worn and eroded, but still recognizable. Could it be just a rock? Sure, I guess it could be, and I wouldn't be disappointed if it was. It's borderline non-fractal, and it'd take a pretty unusual combination of wind and weather to come up with the sculpted look it has, but I'm on the fence on this one. But it's just too weird to pass up. This next one's a different case, though. It's distinctly non-fractal, which means its geometry speaks of intelligent design. Like I said earlier, it definitely resembles the type of latticework found in Middle Eastern buildings, used in second-story windows for privacy while letting in some light and some breeze. It's called a mashrabiyah in Arabic, and it was typically carved from wood or stone, depending on the wealth of the owner. The 90-degree angles and sides of the same thickness are a dead giveaway. Conclusion? This is a manufactured item. In this last view, we have that little surprise I told you about. You can see this is a square piece of metal, and it has a loop on the end closest to us. You have no idea how much I want to go and pull on that loop just to see what happens. I like to think it'd slide out from under the sand with an amazing bit of ancient technology attached to it. With my luck, though, it'd probably release some kind of Martian attack monster. Down there, inside the box. Nothing too obvious, right? You gotta get close on this one. See the triangle and other bits inside that hollow oval rock? The more I look at this, the more I think those aren't carved, but are part of an ancient machine of some kind. Look at the horns coming off the right side, the serrated lip between them. And what about that piece extending to the upper right? It looks flat on its face, deliberately shaped, and it has carvings on it. If you think that's natural, well, let me tell you about Santa Claus. Shoot, I get more than a few of you together and I'll tell you about Amway. But I digress. If I can speculate irresponsibly for a minute, I want to say this is an electrical device and that the two horns are electrodes. That's just a feeling I get. Probably wrong, but I am right about one thing. This ain't a rock. Now, this one was first pointed out by a person whose screen name is Boblexi. It beats me why people use an avatar name, but hey, each to his or her own. Most of the time, the avatars will find something but never present it. But that's their business, I guess. So I'm presenting it, okay? Moving closer, we can see that it presents a pretty compelling example of a badly eroded statue. It's sitting on a rectangular base, but look at the head, whimsically turned to its left. You can see the eyes, a suggestion of a nose, and maybe even a mouth, if you look closely. But what gets me is the shoulders, in the right place, with the right proportions, along with two arms and a chest. The right arm is bent across the front. The left kind of disappears into the jumble surrounding the bottom half of the statue. There's all kinds of suspicious angles and curves in that jumble, and then of course the rectangular platform on which it sits. For the hyperzoom, you can examine all the components and make up your own mind. Is this another pareidolia party? Or is it a badly eroded example of a past civilization? Okay, let's wrap things up with something a little strange. And yeah, I know you don't see much happening here other than Nev's beautiful processing of a rugged cliffside. But let's move in a bit. Now, is that creepy or what? This was pointed out by a user called Motionrain, and frankly, it looks like the half-rotten head of a zombie to me. Or maybe a mummy still partially wrapped in bandages, except it's probably about 6 feet in diameter. Let's get closer. This is very strange indeed. I mean, look at that mouthful of teeth with a smile like the Joker. It looks like there's sort of a mechanism deep inside the head. The upper lip has a deep cleft, but look at the nose. There are 2 nose holes clearly present where they're supposed to be, and no, I didn't put them there with Photoshop. If you've been following the anomaly quest for a while, you know we found more than a few goblin heads, gargoyles, and strange-looking humanoid busts on Mars. Whatever this thing is, its resemblance to a monstrous-looking human head is hard to deny. Hey, thanks for stopping by and having a look today. There is a whole lot more to come. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And in the meantime, this is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.